Well, the Giants' season's over. They finished the year at 4-12, which I guess isn't that bad considering they were 2-11 at one point. So I guess they finished the season on somewhat of a positive note. But that's also happened the last 2 years, so I am not falling for it once again. So this was a game that was somewhat close. The first half of it, I think it was 10-10 or something at halftime. The Eagles, got their offense going in the second half. There was that terrible play with Jalapeno and Daniel Jones fumbling the ball on their own 2-yard line, and the Eagles scored after that. Basically sealed the game for them. So first, we'll get into the offense and see how they did in this game. So some offensive stats. Daniel Jones had 47 pass attempts, 28 completions, over 300 yards, 307 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Saquon Barkley, the stats are deceiving in this one because he had that one long run for, I think it was 68 yards, and the rest of it was not so good. So his overall stats look good, though. 17 carries, 92 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.4 yards per carry. Caden Smith, once again, nearly had 100 yards, 98 yards, 8 receptions, and Golden Tate, 5 for 68, and a touchdown as well. I forgot to put that, but he did have a touchdown as well. So the positives in this game, I thought Daniel Jones made some really nice throws in this one. There was one to Darius Slayton, I think, in the late third quarter or fourth quarter, whatever it was. There was the Golden Tate touchdown as well, which was a great play that he extended moving to his left, made a great throw to him. So there were plenty of throws in this game from Jones that were really good. Some weren't so good. I'll go over those later in the negatives. I still thought Caden Smith looked really good in this game, so you have to be very enthusiastic for the way he's played. He's definitely on a cheap contract as well. He'll be back next year in all likelihood. I don't think the play calling in this game was that bad outside of that one terrible 4th and 2 play. We'll go over that later as well. And Daniel Jones used his legs in some key spots. That's once again with the play calling. There was that 4th and 1 play. I think they were like an I formation. They were looking to run the ball. The Eagles' run defense at that point had not allowed anything basically. I think Saquon might have had negative yards at that point. So they run a bootleg with Daniel Jones. He picks up like 15 yards on the ground. I love seeing that. That was a great play call right there. And on for the negatives. So the offensive line overall, there's not much to say about them. I mean, I was told by a lot of people that Gettleman completely fixed this offensive line, but has it really been much better than it was 2 years ago? I mean, I really can't say. I mean, it probably seems better because Daniel Jones is somewhat mobile and disguises some of the offensive line's deficiencies. And let's say Eli Manning was still behind this offensive line. I don't know if it would be as good as we think it is what I'm trying to say, because Daniel Jones, using his feet, can get out of some situations that Eli could not get out of, so it's different in that regard. But overall, the offensive line has not been that great. The 4th and 2 play calls, I think they're on their own 40-yard line or something around there. They decided to do a halfback sweep basically, and he just ran east and west. Saquon tried to find a hole to the right side. Did not work whatsoever. 3 or 4 Eagle defenders met him before he was able to get to the line of scrimmage, and it was just a terrible play call by Shurmur in my opinion, so I did not like that whatsoever. The Jones underthrow, he underthrew Shepard twice. I think those were 2 plays that could have been very big plays, potential touchdowns for the Giants. I think one of them was in the third quarter. I forget when the first one was, probably sometime in the first half, but those were plays to Shepard that definitely could have been big gains, so that's unfortunate for Daniel Jones. The Jalapeno and Jones bad snap. So, I mean, Jalapeno snapped the ball a tiny bit low. It was at Jones's knees. It was a ball that was, I guess he could have caught it, but I mean, at the same time, it's still considered a low snap, so you have to get it up there, but I don't think Jalapeno is going to be back here next year anyway, so it's probably whatever at this point, but that was the big turning point in this game, in my opinion. And Daniel Jones overall, so 17 fumbles this year. He lost 11 of them. That's just way too many, in my opinion. I think we all can agree on that. So it's not the end of the world for me. I'm not one of those people that think we should draft a quarterback. I think we have something here, and we have a guy who could be a franchise quarterback, but hopefully next year he can cut those numbers in half. If he can cut that down to maybe 10 fumbles and lose 4 or 5 of them, then that would be much better, obviously. So I hope that he can somehow fix that in the offseason, whether it's with a new coach or maybe Pat Shurmur can fix that. I don't know. But hopefully next year we see a much better performance in holding on to the ball and turning it over less next year. And as I mentioned before, in my Pat Shurmur video, the Giants were a -15 in the turnover ratio this year heading into this game, and now I'm sure it's even worse. So that has to go into account as well. So now let's get on to the defense. So before we get into the defense, I forgot to mention this. This was kind of bugging me, honestly, because some fans on Twitter during the game were annoyed that Saquon Barkley only had 6 carries at halftime or whatever it was. He finished the game with 17, I think I said, so that's not that bad. But it's also annoying because Saquon Barkley, for those 6 carries, was running into a brick wall every time. So if you're Pat Shurmur and see that the run game is not working and the defense is selling out to stop the run game, why would you keep calling run plays? I know Saquon's very talented and whatnot, but if the defense is begging Daniel Jones to beat them and they're stacking the box, you might as well pass the ball. I just could not stand people saying that. I agree with Pat Shurmur 100%. He probably should have passed the ball more based off the Eagles defense stacking the box and making Daniel Jones beat them, so I had to get that out there as well. So defensively, the positives, Leonard Williams had a pretty good game in this one, and of course he's playing for a contract, so I'm sure he wanted to play very, very well in this game. He had a sack, I think it was half a sack, and a pass deflection as well in a key spot. O'Shane Ximines had a big play on a 4th and 7. The Eagles went for it on their first drive, a 4th and 7 on the Giants 45-yard line or something like that. So O'Shane hit Carson Wentz's arm. He short-armed it, obviously, and the Giants got the ball back. Lorenzo Carter seems to be improving. He had a couple of plays where he got to the quarterback. I don't think he got a sack. There was one play the Eagles tried an end around, and Lorenzo Carter blew up that play. So he's been, I think, getting better game by game, especially in the second half of the year. The negatives, the Giants continue to make Boston Scott look like a star. I just don't get it. It's not like Boston Scott's that good, and that's my whole argument about the whole running back position shouldn't be based off individual talent. It depends a lot, around them. We all know Saquon Barkley is 1,000 times better than Boston Scott, but Boston Scott put up some great numbers in this game because he has a great offensive line, he has a good quarterback, he has a pretty good play caller, so all those things go in his advantage. And then what does Saquon Barkley have? Barkley has a below average offensive line. He has a quarterback that, right now I think Carson Wentz is probably better than Daniel Jones, but at the same time, the Eagles defense was asking Daniel Jones to beat them. They were selling out to stop Saquon Barkley, so that has to go into it as well. And Doug Peterson's a better play caller than Pat Shurmur, so he had all that going in his advantage. And as I always say, these guys are terrific athletes. If you give them holes to run through, they can run through them. I know that Saquon Barkley does it better than Boston Scott. If you give them a swing pass to catch and pick up 8 yards, most running backs can do that. So that's really my whole argument with the running back thing. But seeing Boston Scott just play well against us twice just annoys me because it just goes into my theory about the whole running back thing, but you're either for that or you're completely against it. So I'm not getting into it, obviously. So negatives as well. 3rd and 6 play call by Betcher on defense. I think this was a play. They had 3 receivers on the left side. It was a 3rd and 6, and the slot corner Julian Love was playing 10 yards off his guy. So all Philly did was just call an in route, and they caught it. He picked up a first down, and it was just very easy. He was not playing up on the line at all. He gave them 10 yards of cushion. They needed to pick up 6 yards, and they got it easily. I don't know if you guys know what play I'm talking about, but it was a 3rd and 6. I think it was the 3rd quarter, but it was annoying. They should have been playing up more, some more press coverage. They just gave him way too much space, and all Carson Wentz had to do was just catch the ball, throw it, easy first down. It was just ridiculous in my mind. Just the James Betcher defense. I'm done with it. It has to go. Hopefully that guy's fired tomorrow. General notes for this game: Sam Beal has been, he was out this game. I did not realize it till halfway through, and I was like, I haven't seen Sam Beal this game, so I had to look it up. Had a shoulder injury. Look, we knew when we drafted him, or when Gettleman drafted him, that he had some chronic shoulder injuries coming out of college, but he decided to go with him anyway, and so far he's missed a lot of games in his career. I think he's played 5 or 6 games, but he's also missed a year and a half worth of games, so it's a concern. You really can't bank on Sam Beal playing 16 games next year, so that might impact them in the draft or signing a free agent. Maybe they sign an extra free agent at cornerback because they can't trust Sam Beal to stay healthy. They tried something different on defense. I noticed they had a lot of Julian Love in the slot today, Michael Thomas at safety, and then Corey Ballantyne was probably benched. I really didn't see him much today, honestly. So there's a thought that maybe Julian Love could play slot corner next year, and it depends what the next coaching staff or next defensive coordinator wants to do. He played corner in college, obviously, so I think it's a possibility, but we'll see what they do with him. They tried the whole experiment of putting him at safety. I thought he played pretty well, honestly, for this being his first time playing safety. But if they want to move him back to corner next year, we'll see what happens. I think it's definitely possible. So is Pat Shurmur fired? So I mean, the reports before this game even started, it came out at like 11 o'clock this morning about Pat Shurmur probably not going to be back tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, I'd be surprised at this point if they don't fire Pat Shurmur. That seems to be the way everything is, pointing at this point. And as for Dave Gettleman, I just saw he has a press conference on Tuesday morning, so that might mean his job is safe. It might not either. I mean, usually when you see a GM and coach fired, it's like the next day, which would be Monday, but I mean, there's really no reason to rush it, obviously. I mean, maybe on Tuesday, Gettleman announces himself that he's stepping down or something. I have no idea. I don't expect that to happen. If I had to put my money on it, I would say he's still probably back, and you guys know how I feel about that. I've said this 100 times by now that the head coach and GM should be tied together. They were brought in at the same time. It would not make sense to me to let Pat Shurmur, be fired and then keep Gettleman. It just would not make sense to me. The only reason it would make sense is if the Giants got Ron Rivera as their head coach, but now it seems like Ron Rivera is heading to Washington tonight to try and finalize a deal with the Washington Redskins. So, I mean, if they don't get Ron Rivera, I just don't get where they're coming from. So, we'll see what happens. Maybe they bring in Matt Rule. Maybe he has some control over the roster. Maybe Gettleman takes a back seat to him. That would be fine with me, obviously, but I don't know. We'll see what happens in the coming days. I'll definitely have videos reacting to that. Oops, sorry, microphone. So for the draft, of course, right now we're the 4th pick. I think that's finalized at this point. So really, it's going to come down to Andrew Thomas or Isaiah Simmons. That's the most likely outcomes right now, and I'll definitely be making videos about those 2 prospects in the coming future. I definitely have been watching a lot of them lately, so I have some videos made up already. I'll release them in the coming days probably, so hopefully you guys tune in and enjoy those. And yeah, 4-12, coming off a 5-11 season. Definitely not good. The Giants are 10-24, I think, in the Dave Gettleman era. So that's not good, not promising. But I don't know what the Giants are gonna, I don't know what they see in him to bring him back next year. I think both Shurmur and Gettleman should be gone next year, and I think Tish said it perfectly. Like, you're delaying the inevitable at this point, because if Shurmur and Gettleman have another bad year next year, or even a mediocre year, or they don't make the playoffs, they're probably out regardless. So you might as well just do it now. Rip the whole Band-Aid off, do it the right way. So I hope they do the right thing, but at this point, I think the Giants have incompetent management that starts at the top with John Mara, so I don't trust them at all. But hopefully we'll find out in the next 48 hours what exactly will happen. So I'll talk to you guys next time, and thank you for watching.